Hello, my name is Johannes Munoz, and I teach international business at the University of Redlands School of Business. What I'd like to present to you today is pretty much how I study if I have to acquire new materials, be it working through textbooks or research papers. And I found that many of my previous students found those study tips quite helpful in preparing for not only my own class, but also the classes that they had to take with colleagues of mine. So, for me, there are three key ingredients for a successful study session. The first one is I need to be motivated. If I don't know why I'm actually working through the materials that I'm supposed to work through, I will not be able to really remember much of what I've been reading, what I've been preparing. So motivation is key. The second one is after I've prepared the materials and after I've read them and highlighted them, and I go through that in a second, it's important that I repeat the materials. And I normally do that a day after I read it or I worked through it, and then after a week again, and maybe then after a longer period of time again. And then finally, there are some things that are not just, like learning vocabulary, but hard nuts to crack. And then it takes persistence in your learning effort to really make sure that you understand what's going on and how to crack that nut. Well, first a word on motivation. Especially if you had a hard working day already and then you need to motivate yourself to study in the evening. That's a real hard job. So motivation is really key. Define, therefore, ex ante what your reward will be if you really study successfully. You should also have two notes on your text. One is what motivates you, and the second, what demotivates you or steals your time away from your studying exercise. What could motivate you is, for example, that you want to get your degree, you want to pass this class, you want to be prepared for the upcoming test. It could also be that you want to just acquire a certain piece of interesting knowledge, or that you have to cover some new rules and regulations and be aware of them and in order to perform your work at your workplace correctly. So that might be requirements, but also that might be good things for you that come in the future. More money, better job, and all these kind of things. Lots of things that may demotivate you. Just the burden, the alternative that you could do, what you could do with your time. Watch TV, watch a football game, or things that steal your time. Someone calling you, email, internet distractions. These are all things that then really can take a lot of time away. So you can only give yourself a reward if you've actually been able to fend those potential time thieves off and allowed you to reach your goal. Well, a lot of the stuff that you'll be learning in pretty much any course and a lot of papers is similar to learning vocabulary. You all know that, if you just learn vocabularies once, you learn them today, they'll be half lost tomorrow, they'll be completely gone in a week. So what you have to do is you have to repeat. And as I already said, I repeat normally already on the day after I've studied the material. So then it doesn't only allow me to keep things longer in memory, it also allows me to actually reach a higher level of understanding and higher level of memory for any particular topic. And then after a whole week, I go back to the material and repeat it again. And then I have a much better grasp of what's really going on and keep more of the material in my long-term memory. Not everything is like vocabulary learning, really. So there are things that are just hard to understand. So what if this mathematical formula just doesn't want to talk to you? If it looks like you just can't crack it. Well, I can't help you with this particular mathematical formula that you may be sweating over right now, but I can tell you what you need to do is you need to stand on the material and try to understand it till you actually get your aha effect. Because if you get that aha effect, then it will be almost immediate what's really going on with this issue, and you'll be able to keep that also in your long-term memory. It's helpful to continue even after your initial understanding for some time working on this particular issue, on this mathematical formula, so that you really make sure that you understand all the aspects of it. And only if you are in this upper area, you should reward yourself for the break. So even if you'd rather take a break otherwise, in this particular case, in this particular type of learning problem, it's better to stay on the topic till you really understand what it means. Well, how to particularly study for this class? Well, what I do with all the materials that I prepare is I start with highlighting. Highlighting, specifically the headers, allows me to see the structure of the material. Here, the three aspects of highlighting are that you want to highlight, repeat, and take frequent breaks. So the first thing that you do is you look at the organizing features of any text that you're interested in. Once you start working through the material, then there will be other things that are important to you. So that's why I highlight with 4 colors. Blue is for the headers, green is for keywords, yellow is for explanations, and well, I normally use red for difficult issues. But on this page, there are no difficult issues, so there's no red on this one. The golden rule is that no more than 10% of any text should be highlighted, because when you repeat the material, you want to make sure that you have to only repeat a small amount of material and not the whole explanations each time. So if you only highlight 10%, then it will take you less than 10% for repeating the material than it actually took you to work through it in the first place. Then you repeat. Well, before you start reading a new text or chapter, you read the highlighted stuff only that you read in your previous session. And after a week or two, as I said, you repeat what you already repeated once before, and that will take you a lot less time than originally. And don't forget, take frequent breaks. Well, why is that? Well, if you study without breaks, then let's see what happens to your attention level. Well, after you start studying, your attention level drops quite dramatically. Well, maybe not quite as dramatically as I've shown in the picture or in this graph, but this is for illustration purposes. Interestingly, the closer you get to your set finished time, the higher your attention level will be. Now the trick is, for that, if you just study through, you waste most of your time. Well, how to overcome that? There's a trick. You use breaks. Breaks motivate. And they motivate directly in terms of attention levels. So if you put, in our example, 1 break in between, you already increase the amount of attention that you are able to get for studying in this example by quite a bit. And now, if you take even more breaks, you'll be able to cover a lot more of the previously lost area, lost time, with higher attention levels, and you'll be fitter because you'll actually have more recovery time. So taking breaks is really an important feature. Well, when you take breaks while studying, what is the optimal break time and length? Let's start bottom up. I normally use mini breaks between every paragraph that I read. So, very short paragraphs you may be able to read in 45 seconds. Longer paragraphs may take 5 minutes. So after I read a very short paragraph, I just basically lean back for a second in my chair and say, well, what did the author really want to tell me with this paragraph? And so while I'm leaning back and actually relaxing a little bit, I already repeat the first time what was really important. Then after 15 to 30 minutes, that's quite a bunch of paragraphs already, you take a 5-minute break. And this duration should be 3 to 5 minutes. Make sure that you get off your desk, and get up from your desk and walk around your desk probably, so that you'll be a little bit more refreshed than just sitting there. A big no-no is to open up your email and try to respond to the last things real quickly, because then after your 3 to 5 minute break is over, you'll be even more tired than you'll begun, and then the effect of the break is not there. After 1.5 to 2 hours, you want to take a recovery, well, I call it actually a coffee break, with a duration of 15 to 20 minutes. Whether you drink coffee or whether you just, go for a very brief walk around the block and come back and continue, that's completely up to you. But do something that actually motivates you and is a reward for the success that you've already had, because you've spent 1.5 or 2 hours already studying material. Then the true long recovery break should happen every 3 to 4 hours. The duration of that should be between 1 and 2.5 hours. Of course, that's only the case if you actually have a full day for studying, like on the weekend. Don't take a break that's longer than 2.5 hours. It's almost impossible to motivate you afterwards again to go back to your desk. If you have the luxury to do so, try to keep a daily rhythm, no matter of what kind. And plan 20 to 30% of your studying time for breaks. Never switch a subject in a sitting. If you have to, only switch subjects after recovery break. Otherwise, what you've just learned in your first, half an hour that you've worked will be completely covered up, swapped out with the new material that you'll be learning after you switch subject. So, in summary, when you start studying, you prepare your markers, you put your book on the desk, and you start highlighting all the headers. Ask yourself why the author actually chose that structure. You've already learned a lot by that. Then when you read, continue highlighting as described before. The next day or next time when you go back to studying, repeat what you highlighted in the previous session. While you study, make sure you take breaks. Take plenty of them, take them regularly, and only allow yourself to take the breaks if you really studied and if you were not distracted with other materials and other stuff, with emails and so on. And finally, use the breaks and every success that you have in your studying to motivate and reward yourself. Follow all that, I think you'll do pretty well, at least in my classes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye.